Good day, everybody. Hi, welcome back to the 92nd, coming close to that 100 mark, 92nd edition of the Contest Round podcast. Name change coming soon, but life gets in the way of me planning anything, of sitting down and going, and even speaking to Dan and going, Dan, possible name. Lots of people giving suggestions, so we'll kind of like consider some stuff in the future. But hello, in any case, and welcome to episode 92nd of the Contest Round podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and anywhere that you find the podcasts. So go and check that out if you just want to listen to us for an hour or so. I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, which is Dan Frontline MCOC, who you can find at www.frontlinemcoc.home.blog and on Twitter after 4,000 Twitter followers at Frontline MCOC. Dan, 4K on Twitter. Nice one.
Yeah, very happy about that. And good to talk to you, Rich. It's been a couple weeks. So
yeah,
glad we're back at it. We got plenty to talk about.
Oh, God. Since we did the last one, Paragon, Eternity of Pain, my word, there's you're right, there's so much stuff. What have you been managing to do in game, or what things have hoped you've wanted to achieve but things gone astray? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I would say I've been a bit stalled out in Act 7. Deadpool spring cleaning occupied most of last weekend.
That's true.
Because I had to get that arena done and get those sweet doubloons. So that was the big sort of thing on the to-do list for last week. I did pick up that pack that had the rank 4 material. So nice. I think there was like a chunk of the tier 6 basic and the tier 3 alpha, and it had I think it had like a full tier 5 basic in that pack. So that was the pack that I got. So I went for the arena, and then I popped that piggy bank a few times to get the extra doubloons, because that had a better doubloon return. So that was my thing. I think I spent either 20 or I think it was 25. I think I spent 25 on the event.
Nice. I didn't spend a thing, and I'm continue on with that methodology for the time being. But how's personally what you been up to? How's life treating you at the moment?
I would say life is life is busy, man. It's that combination of work till you drop and come home, and the joy. I think we've talked about this before, the joys of home ownership. I currently, on my to-do list for this weekend, is replace a screen door handle, install a new toilet, and buy a new lawnmower. My wallet's on fire. It's not going to be much of a relaxing weekend, but that's where we're at, man. That's just that Paul Rudd movie, like This Is 40. Like, it just should have been him walking around a Home Depot spending money.
Yeah,
that's 40, man.
That's that. I'm exactly the same. I'm just looking at mine, like, yeah, you got to do this, you got to do this, and it's even a case like I've got this kind of little A5 bit of like I've got a little kind of like black book of kind of like my like work, which always seems to be like sandwiched into a weekend, similar to yourself, and it's like it's just full pages of just things that I'm like, I've got to do all this stuff, and it's like. And then this has been the first weekend in, I think, about a month where I actually am able to tackle some of the stuff. And like, for the most part, Em's been doing a lot of our DIY. But then it's like, you just actually reminded me of something else I've got to work on in the garden in order to tidy some stuff up. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, that's another thing that goes on the list. Life, hey, that's just how it works.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about the garden stuff. Trying to get out there, planted some raspberry roots a few weeks ago, and trying to do some a few vegetables this year. But
nice.
It is yeah, man. It's we run out of daylight quick.
Yes,
there's always something to do. So
yeah, it would be nice if there was a few more hours in the day and all that jive. Let's kick things off with our discussion about stuff going on at the moment. So we have had Battlegrounds kind of return back into the game. Have you managed to play any?
Yeah, I think I played about 20 matches this time in Battlegrounds. I continue to really enjoy the game mode and have ranked up a couple champions. Punisher 2099 being the most recent example for Battlegrounds. But unfortunately, I think this beta really exposed the cheating issue
Yeah.
with Battlegrounds, way more so than the previous one. I don't know why this one was worse. Maybe it's because after for second beta, the people who wanted to cheat had time to figure out how to cheat. But there was a lot of screenshots. I didn't run into any cheaters personally, but I saw enough people talking about it to understand that it's a pretty significant problem with the game mode right now.
Yeah, and how to tackle that is always a tough one, as Kabam would need to literally, and I've talked about this a lot, the way that if you have to tackle it, you have to literally tackle it at the point of going, this match is null and void, and as it's happening, as it can be a huge task for Kabam to tackle the post situation and post match situation. Sorry, the way that they have to do it is go, look, okay, you were deducted points, you lost points because of a cheater, so we have to refund you the ranked points. And for Kabam to do that means that they would have to, like, literally just spend much more time and resource to get something like that sorted. The same way they've done in the past with Alliance Wars, and that's why Alliance Wars is always sorted out, I don't know, partway through. I can't remember if it's like halfway through, or I definitely know towards the end they do a kind of shake up of leaderboard stuff and the way that points kind of got.
Right, yeah, they sort it out at the end of the season.
So that can either be still, then that's two modes that Kabam have to deal with to kind of clean up, and that again can be seen as another problematic element. So there may be a few other things down the line as well Kabam would need to look into, but it's then down to a decision of what people do, or their kind of interesting game. They go, okay, well, maybe I won't do Battlegrounds, but I'll maybe kind of focus my attention elsewhere and other content. I don't know, but I definitely know that I'm glad this is in beta form at the moment, and Kabam is still
right. I mean, I think that's the thing we have to remember. It's like, this is a beta. Betas are supposed to expose problems. This is a big one. Hopefully they deal with it. I think they don't like to talk about cheating in the game and how they're handling cheating most of the time. I think that continues to bite them from a PR perspective. I mean, there's been a lot of submissions in the CCP server of people reporting cheating. I know, people have hit me up with screenshots. I'm sure people have hit you up with screenshots where, it's obvious, there 4-star is, 5 combo KOing, rank 3 6-stars in Battlegrounds with safeguard on. Like, obviously, like there, this isn't one of those, like, did this person really clear Labyrinth with that roster? Like, there's just no way.
Yeah, exactly.
This stuff's legit. And, like you said, if someone's winning a Battleground match in under 10 seconds, like, stop the match. Like, that should be an instant DQ. Like, there should be, they've got to come up with some way to recognize in real time that, like, this is legit impossible.
Yeah.
And then, you're going to have, there's always going to be edge cases, where you're going to have to go in and crunch some numbers. But some of this stuff is so obvious that it's like, it's just impossible. So I do hope they clean that up for the next one and make a strong statement and just restore a little faith in the game mode for the people who are really questioning the cheating aspect. Because, the arena, arena cheating's always been an issue. People don't like it, but this just feels more personal because it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
And, we talk about cheating in Alliance War. It's like, you only get 12 wars in a season. Like, how many, like, think of how many, like, if you just, like, run Battlegrounds as a cheater, like, how many games can you get in a day?
Yeah, true.
Like, you could affect a lot of people,
And
also, I mean, why cheat? Like, there's no... there's like no rewards right now anyway. Like
No.
eventually there will be, and that'll be a bigger issue. But I would say the other thing is, how do you feel about the scoring in Battlegrounds? Have you had any? Do you feel good about it, or have you had some where you're like, I feel like I should have won that one?
I'm not particularly a big fan of it. I think that the point system can be like, obviously there's two elements to the points thing. It's like, the anything of like ranked points, but the point system, I think, with the, that's another story for another day, about talking about how that will kind of like, how a loss feels. But it's two parts to this, right? So the first thing, when it comes to the fight elements, I'm not a massive fan of the way that it's kind of put together. I like certain aspects of going, when you're downing someone, when you're killing your enemy, it's like, okay, great, that feels really rewarding and nice. But then when you got the second part to going like, oh, you said you fought, personally, I won that, I lost that, no, I won that fight, I fought really well, and that's great. Sadly, I'm below 50% health. Then you look at the end, then you go to the ending screen and realize that because, say, the opponent didn't down the enemy, yep, but had maybe more health points remaining, that they technically won, or you both down but one got more health than others. It's kind of like, should it be like, oh, how many hits that it took to take that enemy down? It's kind of a case of, if you feel that you've won, you also, yep, have lost, and if you lose, you then lose double. You lose twice, because it's like those rank points will kind of like take you on a sinker. So it's like, if you go on like a losing streak, man, it's like, that's when it's like, do you know what? Like, I'm sick of taking L's for the day. Or if I'm taking wins, where I thought, oh, I've won this, you're taking L's because you lost rank points, and you're going, man, I fought hard in this one. This just feels like it's just like ruining my confidence. So there's a lot of kind of elements to it that I don't like how it's put together. And again, I think that's the reason that we got a beta, is to go, okay, well, should we be doing it on how many combos were in this? Is it a case of, do we take away, is it all down to like how much health remaining? Is it, where do we change with this? I don't know. How do you feel about the point system?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the complaint I've seen most often is when player A KOs the opponent, player B does not.
Yeah.
But player B wins.
Yes, that's the most.
It's sort of, that, because that, I think that's a big part of the argument. Because, like, if we were talking about Alliance War, it's like, well, it doesn't matter if I have 2% health left. I beat the opponent, I get the attack bonus. If you timed out or you died, like, you don't get the attack bonus.
Yeah.
Like, and in Battlegrounds, I think that's the thing is if it feels to me like, and we I think there's going to be a discussion in the community, but it feels to me if you defeat the opponent within the time and your opponent doesn't, then you should win.
Yeah,
because the game, the ultimate goal of the game is to get a KO. Now, I think that the secondary issue to that is where we've seen some of the arguments is like the cleanness of the fight versus the speed of the fight, and how important is speed. Versus how important is fighting clean. Like, I had one that I thought didn't feel so good, where it's like I finished with like 97% health, but it took me 30 seconds longer than my opponent, who finished with like 76% health.
Oh,
it was close. It was an edge issue, but they had the faster fight, but they had the S word masteries on, so they were obviously losing some health, but they were they were much faster. There's no way around it. But in like in a questing or a war format, if I said, hey, would you rather have 96% health left at the end of the fight, or 76% of the health left? So I want 96%. Like, that's a cleaner fight. That's better to proceed forward. I realize, we don't take the players, the characters forward in Battlegrounds, but it doesn't. I don't know. It just didn't feel good. Like you could argue about whether or not that's correct or not, or where that line should be. I get that they want to emphasize speed because speed gives an advantage to people who have built a better roster.
Yeah, I've got an image which I'm gonna. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this, but I'm just gonna like ping it to Dan just so we're kind of like reading off the same thing. So I'm gonna describe it for those listening. So this is a screenshot by Unofficial Command Mike. Does great content. Go and check out his channel. And this is an example of what Dan and I were speaking about, how the kind of unfairness of the point system kind of like goes. He on round 3 had a fight where he defeated a Killmonger, Awakened 6-star, with a Apocalypse, right? His opponent was against his Guillotine 2099 and won with a 5-star, 5-star. Why can't I think of it?
It's Guardian.
Oh, God's sake. What's wrong with me? It is a Friday when I'm recording this. So anyway, like his attack HP remaining was 41.2%, which got him points of 6,174. He defeated the Killmonger, which gave him 30,000 points. And his fight duration was 90 seconds. Now, that got him a total of 39,924 points. In comparison, what happened with him losing, because he lost that fight against the opponent, because they had attack HP remaining 70.2%, giving them points 10,534 points, 533 points, plus the defender HP. Now that's the thing that got less points at 29,441 points. Now there's no fight duration, which is very weird, but they might have timed out. That's what Unofficial Command was saying.
If you time out, you don't get any points. It's basically like you get points for remaining time. So if there's no remaining time, you get no points for that.
So they kind of like I don't know if you're saying in the US, it's called was it slowly catching monkey, which is a kind of a term, but just like saying operating slowly to kind of catch whatever you need to or win or whatever. And that's really what happened. Was this must have been like a very kind of slow fight, whether or not it was parry hit, or kind of a intercept for the good chunk of the point of the timeout. They won with 50 points. And like for that, which I can imagine might have been like a hard fought battle for 1 minute 30 with that Apocalypse against that Killmonger, it kind of really puts into question the game mode when this stuff happens. And at the end of this, you go, I fought really well, but then at the end of it, you're like, man, this sucked because I lost.
Yeah, because it's so close, right? I mean, clearly, like this is like an edge case as far as the math. But I think it does bring into the question of like, should there be a KO bonus?
Yes.
In the score to kind of correct some of these things, because the goal is to KO your opponent, and one of the players did and one of the players didn't. So like it I don't know, it feels like we're getting into like too much finesse of like where the like attacker HP should be more of a tiebreaker, I feel, than like the determining factor.
Yeah. I think we both agree that there's work that needs to be done to the game mode. Like it is a great game mode. It's a great idea to have in a game, but you can really see why it's taking or going to take as long as it is to be released as a true game mode, as there's lots of things that need to be kind of built with it to make sure that it operates as competitive, fair, and not so operating with cheaters and things like that. So I really like the game mode. I love the draft element to it. I love the strategy of like, okay, like I drafted Mephisto. Oh look, they drafted their Human Torch to counter that. It's like, oh, but can I force him to use that torch before I place Mephisto on defense, or am I not going to be able to play that character? There's so many elements to it, like sort of the
the rock paper scissors element to the game, where it's like, okay, like if I can get you to do what I want, like, maybe I play a weaker defender first and I bait you into something, and then so I can I can take your best attacker out, on a matchup that they didn't really need to use them there, like that kind of stuff I find really interesting.
Yeah.
Also ban Penny Parker all the time.
Damn right.
So and actually our buddy friend of the podcast Vega just released a great video about Battlegrounds and Strategy and his top picks today. So you guys should definitely go check that out. And it's always great to see my guy Spider Ham getting some love, because he is a Battlegrounds beast.
Yeah. Those Porker poppers be popping off.
He does. Peter Porker does not care about Safeguard guy.
No, not at all. Right, we've had a brand new progression title revealed, Dan. Paragon.
And when we didn't get to talk about this last week, and I kind of wanted to, I never got around to it. I want to make a joke on Twitter that, like, we have time to record, but just listen to the episode where we talk about Thronebreaker being announced, and every time we say Thronebreaker, just replace it with Paragon, because it's almost certainly going to be the exact same takes. And it's like the same complaints. Like there's the Thronebreakers, like the Cavaliers, who are like, oh, like I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm upset, and like why do I have to have a rank up, and it's RNG based, and all this stuff. Like it's gonna be the same conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like they made Paragon a little harder than Thronebreaker.
Yes, they did.
Like I think that's a legit talking point.
Yeah, I to kind of get it out of the way, as I've said, and I will kind of go with, I feel that 2 rank 4 6 stars would have been fair enough to work towards, because let's face it, that's around the corner for most kind of free-to-play players, the same way at the time back last year, a rank 3 6 star was, again, just round the corner. I kind of feel like, unless they are, with Eternity of Pain, going to inject like a load into the Thronebreaker titleage or acquisition rank 4 materials, it's going to feel like it's a big kind of like bridge to try and leap across. I don't know, where are you at with it?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, like with Thronebreaker, I was like, okay, like I'm a little behind, but I can see the math of like how I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
By the end of the year or something like that. And we had that big talk about like, do you want to become Thronebreaker before Cyber Weekend, or do you want to use Cyber Weekend to become Thronebreaker? And then, of course, we found that becoming Thronebreaker on Cyber Weekend was impossible.
Yeah,
because of the way the deals were structured for the Cavalier players.
This is when I took my this is when I did my ultimate choice of doing Abyss of Legends Easy Path versus, and that was how I ended up doing it.
You guessed right on that one.
Yeah,
so,
but then
I think we gotta we say with like we don't know what's going to happen on 4th of July this time, but like last time this happened, like the deals were not the path to get you there.
True. Yeah, I kind of feel like looking at this, especially like looking in game with things like Karina's challenges. It feels like you've got to do, as soon as you've done Act 7, there's a good chance that you will have definitely 1 and potentially close to 2 rank 4 6-star champions. You will still have to do. You'd have to hope that Kabam injects some stuff into free to play for you to kind of grab, like what they did the month of April with the side event, and also the freebies from the doubloons that you got from spring cleaning. But essentially, you have to make that decision of how many Karina's challenges you do, how far you go in Eternity of Pain, and then you have to then go, okay, where am I going to be with my progression titleage, or how close will I be after the summer, and will it be going down to the same scenario that we presented back with Thronebreaker title was kind of released? Is it still bank on something else or Cyber Weekend? And that's it. it's a real risk this time around based on what happened last time with Thronebreaker.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think that's what people are a bit worried about. I mean, clearly they wanted some separation here. Like, listen, when I look at anyone who's going to be getting Paragon day one and my roster, I'm like, yeah, there's a big difference. I can see why we're being classified differently. I get that. Like, I still have most of the back half of Act 7 to do. I haven't done any Karina's challenges. Like, you've done that stuff. Like, you're ahead of me. I get that. I think so I don't really have a problem with the title or even the three rank 3 6-stars. Like, those things always hurt the most in the beginning. As we've always seen, the resources trickle down to the rest of the community. Like, you're going to be able to get there at some point. Newer players catch up. This is the evergreen story of MCOC. I mean, I think in a year when you're talking about getting Paragon, the most difficult thing is going to be completing Act 6 still.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the hardest requirement. Not, you're going to see people, with rank 4 6-stars going into Act 6. I guess, as far as like the immediate, the first batch of Paragons, it's really kind of like about the math and like how they had to go back and say, you know what, like, we got to re-release the deal for the people that didn't buy it. Like, I don't know, that seems to be another case of like them looking at the ecosystem saying everything's okay, and then the players like, did you add all this up? Like, how does this work? And they're like, oh no, sorry, like, our bad, so we'll re-release this deal where you can spend 10,000 units to make it up for you. Like, that's the stuff that bothers me, is like, it's the same stuff when we talk about like I don't want to go down this whole rabbit hole, but talk about the champion rating and the balancing, and it's like, do you guys understand the ecosystem and how this game works?
Oh God, yeah, we got to do
like,
that.
That's the stuff.
I forgot that.
Scares me.
We've got to do I was planning on doing a video, but I'd like to do like a video and maybe a show. Maybe like on a slow news week, we sit down and kind of have a look at some champion ratings that make us laugh.
Oh, and just nitpick everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds glorious.
Okay, cool. We'll plan that in. Maybe like not next week, but the week after when things die down, or maybe we'll find some time next week to kind of do it. I am looking forward to that particular show. But man,
we're gonna be so cranky by the end of the episode.
It'll be like Rich and Dan rant about the champions rating. Yeah, Rich and Dan destroy.
That will be the true eternity of pain.
Which we've got to talk about. Now, that's the thing. With great Paragon comes great opportunity to try and get to Paragon, or specific Paragon-based objectives, which will probably be really good, and everyone else will be there like, oh, damn you Paragon players. Of limited amount that there are of you, or those that can spend extensively. We've got Summer of Pain 2. Coming to a show near you on the 11th of May. So I don't really know what to make of this. We've got some fancy... I think we can talk about the notes that were kind of given from Kebab, the release notes, because they're going to be Friday. We can talk... that's going to be released.
Right, yeah. The release notes will be out a few hours after we record this.
So we've got 5 weeks... And we've got a Dormammu. Well, I assume these are the bosses.
Yeah, I assume too.
Dormammu, a Icarus, a Crossbones, and a Blade. Now that's going to be interesting. Summer of Pain last year had something like 9 weeks.
There was 9 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is only a 5-week thing. 4 weeks, and then a 5th kind of like super week. I think that's right.
Week 5 lasting 3 weeks, where you have to fight all 4.
Yeah.
And then they take a week off, and then we get a new one.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool that they say they're going to run this like 4 times. I don't know if they're changing the bosses up each time, and maybe that's why it's shorter, so they can have different bosses, and I think that's cool. And especially for, as the players that cycle into Paragon, it's like, okay, maybe you can't get all the objectives the first time, but you will the second time. I just really like the pace of this content, where it's like one fight a week, and like it's, you can go in, you can test the fight. People put out videos, like it becomes something to talk about that week. Like I just really enjoyed the pace of Summer of Pain. It's fun for content. I like the objectives. Do I wish I was getting the Paragon objectives? Yes. But I just feel like the pace and structure of this event is one of the best they've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I am very much looking forward to kind of like of this kind of going, and just like a nice little bit of excitement over the summer period, and there's hopefully an opportunity to pick up, and that'll be the biggest thing, is when it drops and we kind of go is it 2 runs that we're doing of this? Is it like 1 run and 1 loads of objectives, and then it's like, then that goes, and then there's a new one for 4 weeks? 5 weeks, new fight will be featured.
I believe that's the case. It's like sort of the 4 fights and then the super week, and then that's the end of the event, and then you get a week off, and then they're going to start a new set of Eternity of Pain. That's right. The way I read it.
Okay, cool.
So like, because I don't think people would want to wait like a year to get the reward, the objective reward.
Yeah, I was thinking like, okay, well, is it going to be like, is it going to like add on the solo objective is going to go for like, I don't know, the entirety of the month, the entirety of 2 months. So it's like, I was thinking like, okay, well, does that mean that the deeper you go into this, the more objectives you do, the more spicier it gets? So I mean, that's good, because then a lot of people can start going in May, plan what will be at the end of the summer. It's like saying, okay, I'm going to get 20,000 tier 6 basic fragments, and that's what I'm going to get in part 1. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. That will add to my total of what I need, and then I can just go, right, well, that means I have to do equal amount of number in part 2 of Eternity of Pain to go into my big pot of tier 6 basic fragments, and go, I'm closer to Paragon than I was before. And that's good, because people will have to make plans early May as to how quickly they can get to Paragon if you're a Thronebreaker looking to get to Paragon.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the calendar now. So this first cycle of Eternity of Pain is going to end on June 29th. So you should be getting the rewards June 29th or 30th. Right before, that's going right into the July 4th weekend.
Ooh.
So like, yeah, I mean, you're probably going to be getting the rewards like 24 to 48 hours before the July 4 weekend deals go live.
Man,
I assume it's going to be on Friday, July 1st.
Yeah.
So that is cutting it close.
Thing is, I don't know if I'd ever... This is going to be a big problem for content going forward of like coverage. If we ever get to a situation of a new difficulty, my biggest concern is the amount of people that are still Cavalier. And that's one of the things I'm seeing, is not a huge amount of people are Thronebreaker. Like, a lot of people are still like Cavalier. Well, there's a lot of Thronebreaker, but there's a lot that are Cavaliers still, which means that the coverage that I'm going to have to do on the channel is going to have to be very much kind of, well, Paragon because it's the current meta, but
sure.
Paragon, yep. Thronebreaker, and Cavalier. It does mean a lot for Cavalier.
And those Cavalier players, what do you think is the holdup for them? Is it getting the rank 3, or is it getting through Act 6?
I think it's definitely the Act 6, but I think a lot of people nowadays have gone back to be more like casual players. Like, I'm definitely feeling that, especially from like some videos that I've done in the past, where I've looked at, okay, well, where people up to at the moment from a point of their rate of extent of playing game, and it is a lot less than what I was thinking. But maybe that could be down to different things. Like, could it be a case that not everybody, I'm not expecting everybody to vote on something, but it was very surprising to the extent of like, well, how much people play the game. If you're not playing, like, you can bash out Act 7 if you if you wanted to, and spent the units, you could do X7 point. You could do like a quest a day, and kind of bash that out over the space of a couple weeks, maybe even like a lot quicker than that, to go from like what you wanted to achieve from Act 7.1 to Act 7.4, depending on that, but it's definitely like a big kind of shift from people's casual nature of playing the game for when it used to be quite extensive. I know I'm kind of like, I don't really play as much. I try and use opportunities to play whenever I can, but because I don't spend money, I'm not feeling I'm making quick gains in certain areas. I don't know. I really don't know, Dan. What?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel you, like when I was, in that sort of like 100% Act 5 era, like I really wanted to get that done. I really wanted to get Labyrinth done. And I do want to get this stuff done, but it's, I don't feel the need to like, if I don't, like, I'm trying to move up, or like I'm going to get kicked out of my alliance if I can't get this done. Like, I don't know. I feel like that kind of stuff is gone by the wayside for a lot of the longer term players, and we're just going to do what we do and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I see players coming up and they're newer, and some of them are more competitive and they're starting to catch up, and that's great. And the game needs that. Like, for those of us like who have been playing, going on 7 years, like, it's okay that we don't feel exactly the same way or want to be exactly as competitive as we were in 2018. Like, that's all right. Like, it's still supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you on that, but it's definitely seems like overall we add in these things. You talk about the Battlegrounds, Paragon, and Eternity of Pain with those Paragon objectives. Like, you could see why where some of the unrest is coming from, and why some people feel a little bitter about being left out.
Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with it. As I said, for me, two rank 4 6 stars was a fair thing to kind of put in place to do, but I'm still going to do it. I'm thinking about my process over the weekend. I've got to, as soon as I do 100% of Act 7 on early next week, because I got time this weekend, I'll probably just, me and Emma watch a movie, and I'll just bash out the last kind of paths that I need to, and then do an opening on Tuesday or something of all the stuff, or a live stream. I will have to sit down and go, right, rank up the 2 champions that you've got, look at the roster, look at who you plan to kind of rank up further elsewhere down the line. Also look at what Karina's challenges I'll have to do. It's not would like to do, it's have to do.
Have to do, yep. And it's just going to come down to the rewards numbers.
Yeah.
That's going to lead you to where you need to be.
And then kind of balance in some variables, which will be the Eternity of Pain. Because I have to go, right, well, if Eternity of Pain comes in, I will have to do this in order to achieve what I need to grab. They may not give away what the final, I don't know if they will give away what the kind of final stuff that you need, or will I get an idea? I will have to literally say, okay, how far do you want to go in part 1, and then go, right, well, if I can replicate the same in part 2, this is what I can achieve. So it's a case of a lot of future planning, which I think is
for sure. Break out the spreadsheets.
Yeah, that will be something very, very important needs to be done. Anyway, Dan, we've got new stuff coming into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know most of this is, well, I mean, by the time everyone's hearing this, all of this will be revealed, but it's, there's not a bunch beyond confirming the new characters in these release notes, because we already know about Eternity of Pain. But we're getting our Doctor Strange tie-in, and our wish has been granted. Wong is joining the contest.
Woohoo!
I'm excited for Wong.
I am too. I think this is going to be great, because they've gone for like a... Well, unfortunately, I can only see... By the time the video comes out, it might have some front-on profiles. Like, we can only get the side of Wong at the moment, which is... It still looks good. This side of Wong I see is a good side. It's
his
good.
Costume looks great. A lot of detail.
Yeah, it's very much kind of in keeping with the Multiverse of Madness costume that he has for that. So that's great. It's great to see. I hope he's going to be powerful, as equally as powerful as Doctor Strange, and more like. Well, I say that because we don't really have like a strong Doctor Strange in game. I hope we get a powerful kind of mystical arts-based champion, which
Yeah.
is such
It
a
maybe reflects a little bit more of like the shields and the powers that we see in the movie.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Something that it's kind of like Mordo, but more stronger, or kind of a bit more to it, a bit more kind of like in the future with the animation team, because the animation team, since the introduction of Mordo into game, have kind of done better and above and beyond. So I look forward to seeing what animations he's going to have. We also got Rintra, who I said in our notes is bullthing creature, because I was just like, I just can't. I just not.
Yeah, alien Minotaur apprentice of Doctor Strange. Kind of a deep cut when it comes to the comics, but certainly a unique build. Not a villain, an ally of Doctor Strange, at least in the comics, and based on reading this bio, I think another hero character. So 2 Doctor Strange MCU movie allies this month. Interesting. No villain.
No villain. And maybe that's just because they don't want to reveal too much about how the story goes with the...
probably. So two mystics, likely 2 heroes.
That's cool.
And Mordo is getting a buff.
Yep, Mordo is getting
Storm.
a buff. And Storm.
But I think we already knew about the Storm one, but
yeah.
Mordo. So this is a proper Doctor Strange tie-in. Like this is good. This makes sense. I like this. And then Dormammu's heading up the side quest, Trials of Madness. Looks like this is one of those where like you play it like 5 or 6 times, and then there's like a more challenging one on day 7.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have the full details yet, but that's the sense that I get. So hopefully they continue the trend of the rank 4 materials in the side quest.
I hope for that as well. That would be very, very nice. Tier 6 basic this month, do you think? Or next month, do you think, with this?
Oh, yeah, because they did the alpha this month.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, that would make sense for balancing purposes, so I hope so.
Yes, yin and yang. I think that covers a lot of our MCOC-based coverage. Is there anything you'd like
I
to
think
talk about?
no, I think that's it. And I'm fresh off watching some Moon Knight, so I would love to talk about episodes 4 and 5.
Hell yeah. This show is really getting, like, I mean, it was good. It's really good. Like, it's amazing. I love it. But it's like it's getting more deep. There's so much more depth to this.
Particularly episode 5.
Yes.
I think episode 5 is a pretty landmark episode for this show for quite a few reasons. But first off, Rich, I got to check in. We're getting our boy Steven more screen time. Last couple episodes. How are we doing with the Britishisms?
He is doing great, especially
he's bringing it.
Especially when he comes into episode 5 and says, "You're having a laugh." Like,
yep. Oh yeah, him in the psych office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is the thing. Like, as much as I'd like to talk about episode 4, I just kind of feel like it felt to me like episode 4 was good, but it felt like a bit of a filler episode, except for Alexander the Great and the coming to terms of how Mark was involved with and this kind of origin story about how how his acts caused the death of his wife's dad,
father,
Layla's father, yeah. But God, that's really it. And then getting shot at the end. I think that's probably it, really, for episode 4. It's episode 5 and the episode ended to episode 4. That was a bit of a shocker.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree. That was the transition to get us into like episode 5, which in some way feels like what is the real meat of the series, because when we start off, like, it seems it's more like, okay, like it's the chase to find the relic and release the ancient Egyptian god, and now it's more like, the journey into Mark Spector's mind.
Yes.
And like what's going on in there, and like what caused all this trauma. And like we got all the ugly backstory from like he just like where all his damage comes from. And I think you just got to give it up to Oscar Isaac, because he has to do a lot of this by himself.
Yeah.
You know, like he must have been so excited as an actor for this episode, because he had to do so much work, and he's really crushing it.
Yeah, it was such a deep episode. I really don't know where to kind of like start with it. There's essentially we learn that we're in the afterlife. We haven't as well. We got a nod. I think was it episode 4 with what I think is the other personality, that Jake personality.
It was teased a little bit.
It's teased. Yeah. That I think is going to be something for episode 6 that's going to be important to be released. Like, in order to kind of save the day, he has to release the other personality, which maybe is how dormant. That maybe it may have been a personality that was responsible for the death of Layla's father. Don't know yet. That's me being speculative. But the way that episode 5 tackled we're in this afterlife was just so cool. I felt like very kind of like immersed into kind of, okay, so we're in the afterlife trying to reconcile as we coast the plane. I don't know how you felt about the episode where we were.
I mean, I really liked the episode. I mean, it was in some ways it was like hard to watch. Like as soon as the brother showed up, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't know that. I don't know if that's that part of the backstories in the comics or not. I didn't know that, but like once like they started showing his family, and it's like, oh no, like we're gonna dig into like his trauma and like why he has this split personality. Like something awful is definitely about to happen to his family. Yeah. So like that, that was definitely like really hard to watch. I think they handled it really well, but definitely like pretty gut wrenching.
Yeah, the character tapestry weaves so much of what we were trying to learn about the character from episode 1 to 4, with why Stephen Grant was created as a character in his mind to
and
to show no
fear. The genesis of that character, and sort of Stephen, learning where he came from, and sort of that that crushing him.
Yeah.
And sort of just breaking him down. But then by the end of the episode, like he has his hero moment. He comes into his own, and he's saving Mark.
Yes. And that's just what he was meant to do. Like along the way, the Stephen Grant side of him forgot that he was the one who was meant to be without fear and was meant to dig him out of the stuff, and in a kind of a whimsical way, in a kind of like it's a Britishism for the keep calm and carry on, even in the face of like stuff going bad. You try and find some sort of like positivity. After when his mum died, and he didn't really want to accept that after years of what was abuse. He was abused by his mother, and how he had to like deal with that, and how he was like, even though he was abused, he was very upset about the fact his mum had died, and then in that moment of complete breakdown, it was a case of like, oh bloody hell, why am I here? Where am I? And then he phones his mum, and there was a lot of tackling when he was in the psycho ward of like, okay, well, we've got your mother on the phone, but even though his mum's dead, and he was going like, don't make me speak to my mum. I don't want to speak to my mum. I don't want to speak to my mum. And then there's no one on that other end of the phone. But he did this to show no fear. The Stephen Grant persona was created to be brave and striking, even though it's kind of weird because like Mark is kind of the braver one, which is so odd. But it's a cool dynamic.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think this episode got the entire CGI budget for the whole show.
Yes, better than episode 1.
It looked really good. Yeah. Like it looked really good. Like the boat and the hippo looked awesome.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, like maybe they just spent all the money on this episode.
Yeah, it's really odd to like episode 1 where the terrible CGI looked like it was out of some kind of like crappy DC like TV show, and it's like, oh, this is nice. Are we in a movie? Is this
Right,
the movie?
exactly. Yeah, like this is what I expect from
Yeah.
my MCU. I will say like the as good as this episode was, I'm worried because we only have one episode left.
Yes.
And this is like the same thing that kind of I think it did happen with Hawkeye, and kind of happened a bit with Loki. Is like we're still like we're 5/6 of the way through. Like we just introduced like so much stuff, and there's so
Yeah.
many loose ends, and like we haven't even like circled back to Ahmet and like Harrow really, and uh, that kind of stuff's been sidelined for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to wrap up. I hope we get multiple seasons of Moon Knight, but like getting to a satisfying conclusion in the next episode. Like I feel like they've set themselves up for a lot of work here with the pacing.
Yeah, I look at it and go, the biggest thing I worry about this is the way. I'm not saying there's anything against the age of Oscar Isaac. I kind of feel like there was like these bits in episode 5 where they were talking about, he was talking about, these are people, the dead people. These are people that Khonshu had kind of like judged, and
Yep.
Mark as Moon Knight had dealt with, and I think in some like various places, and it was kind of annoying because I was like, I would have liked to have seen like the years between, and that kind of feels like, are we now getting to an end point of Mark, like or that the Moon Knight, I say, has operated for 10 years prior to that, 10 years prior that we haven't seen in the MCU, which we don't know about, but we
Right.
kind of feel like maybe we should have. And then it's like, well, what does this mean for the end of it? Does Mark have to sacrifice himself to kind of, or will he pass off the mantle of Moon Knight to somebody else? Will it be a case that I don't know, but I'm looking at this going like, well, yes, you're absolutely right, Dan. We had the same problem we had with Hawkeye. There's a lot to wrap up. We haven't had any kind of cameos of any kind of great description or notoriety.
No, it's been really isolated. I mean, especially last episode, which took place entirely in Mark's head.
Yeah.
So yeah, no big cameos. Although was there like a reference to sort of like the Wakandan afterlife that we see in Black Panther?
I think
there was
so.
something about like an ancestral plane.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
I think that might have been the only like wink
Yes.
to the larger MCU. But yeah, I mean that's the thing with like these. I guess my criticism of some of the Disney Plus shows. It's like, where we spend a couple episodes on exposition and building stuff up, and then it all, we've got to tick all our boxes at the end to like wrap everything up, and it's just like there's a lot going on here, and do you know what your show's about? Is it like, is it a Tomb Raider thing? Like, is that the main thing? Are we stopping the bad guy from summoning the big bad, or are we, is this really about like what's going on inside Mark's head? To see if they can pull off that balancing act.
But that's the thing about going, this is what is happening on Earth is very real worldly, and you kind of think, shouldn't there be another MCU character who is aware of what's going on at the moment to go, shouldn't we be trying to intervene in some sort of state, so a case of form? Like I would kind of go like, what? Well, wouldn't like Nick Fury, who's off world, kind of go like, we've got to go back to kind of like save this stuff, because this stuff is like, this is bigger than us, this is
right,
this is very worldly. The same way that I would kind of go, well, what was Mark Spector doing during the blip? I kind of feel now we're at a stage where I know it's like, oh, don't mention the blip, because it's like, oh, blip, but it's like, well, what has Mark been doing during the blip? Like, has he been operating still? Was he blipped? Was he not blipped? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know. I feel like he wasn't blipped.
No.
That's just my sense. I feel like he wasn't blipped because I feel like Khonshu would have replaced.
Yes, you're right.
If he was blipped,
Yeah.
I think Khonshu would have been like, no, Mark will come back. It'll be fine. Like, I think he wants his avatar out there, unleashing justice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my sense. I mean, again, this is one of those things where, like, we haven't seen the whole picture yet as far as the series, or Nick Fury, like, we know, like, there's Secret Invasion coming with Skrulls, and like he's got his hands full there. Like, I think some of the Armor Wars stuff may deal with what you're talking about. Like, She-Hulk could be interesting because that's going to be like, from what I understand, like a lawyer office comedy about like the legal implications of all this superheroing. So like that should be super fun. It's kind of like, I've rewatched the MCU stuff, and like when I watched Age of Ultron the first time, and it just felt like, oh, that was kind of like a bunch of like stuff just thrown in there. And then when you watch it like in context of knowing what happens in like Endgame and Infinity War, you're like, oh, like everything was hinted and like runs off of this movie.
Yeah.
But it was just like, well, when you have to wait like a year or two to see the next thing, and you see the story advance, you're just like, what are we doing? And then you see the payoff. So hopefully there's a payoff. I am excited for our final episode. I just wish we were getting like 3 more episodes of Moon Knight.
I agree.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like WandaVision got it right with the 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And actually, like Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think they got the 6th thing right.
Yes.
As far as their pacing, I think like I definitely wanted more Loki, and I definitely wanted more Hawkeye.
Yes.
So, and I think I'm gonna want more Moon Knight, but that's okay because hopefully we can get a season 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. Wow, I think we'll look forward to episode 6 next week and try and see how this story finishes.
Yes.
Dan, what are you planning to do this weekend and next week?
Besides all the aforementioned home improvement projects, I need to wrap up this month's side quest, so I get the tier 3 alpha, and I gotta get back to making some headway in Act 7.3.
Nice. Mine is over the weekend, 100% Act 7, and try and figure out a plan and process to get myself Paragon, and by what time scale that will be. And try and make more YouTube Marvel Contest of Champions content now that I've finished my busy week and busy month with the games developer before it all kicks off again. But that has been the podcast. Thanks everybody for watching and listening, and we are available on the in the links in the bios for the various different podcast places. Make sure to hit the like button for them and support. So see you next time for the next episode. Bye bye everybody.